Hello, everybody. My name is Lina Pavasaryte, and today I will show you what I learned in few months and what kind of problem I did find. And I hope this problem, it's not just mine, and also you could find something useful from that. So Dealwise is a planning tool for German real estate investment. Why Germany and why is this market is so unique? So first of all, 40%, 47% of homeowners comparing with other countries or even the European Union average, which is 69, it's very low. And here there is advantages and disadvantages. Of course, a lot of bureaucracy, but also there is good part that there is a lot of gaps which could be useful for us. Yeah. So there is two options to own a house or home. So the options is to buy to live or to buy to invest. The beginning is very simple and very similar. And then later I will show the differences and I will try to convince that you also could be an owner and could be one of the 47%. Okay, so if you buy a house, you build equity, housing security, property appreciation, and just imagine, for example, you're renting an apartment for 10 years, owner suddenly decided to sell, and then you end up with what? Finding another apartment for double renting price. So in this case, you have an option to stabilize and secure it for 10 years, for 20, for 30, in case which interest rate you choose. Or if not to buy, maybe to invest. And then you don't need to change your location. You live at the same apartment. You are flexible to move somewhere, but still in 20, 30 years, maybe you are retired, maybe not yet, but you have additional income and much less expenses. Okay, so imagine single person, which is very realistic and not too complicated, not too high, net income 2,800 euro. And allowance mortgage, it's possible and it's quite high. But here we need to make decision for ourselves. So first decision would be if it's okay to have a small apartment to live for myself, then it's okay. I could be an owner. If not, maybe I want bigger. So it's okay to rent it, but to buy a smaller one to invest. And maybe after 20 years, I could sell it and invest in my own home. But still, after 20 years, you paying rent, you earn zero. You just spend a lot. You invest, you build equity, and quite big one. So how this app help and what it do, what it solve? First of all, as input, we add our financial situation. So how much we earn, what is the net income, what is the brutto income, do we have other expenses, do we own another investment apartment or leased car or financed car or something else. Yeah, and financial and also insert apartment which we find we would like to have. But yeah, I think it was guessed the predicted price of the rent, because this is the main parameter, especially if you want to invest. What is the rent? So what is the ratio between rent and mortgage? And then is it useful? Is it not? And what numbers we could expect to see? So in the end, we see the mortgage, taxes, cash flow, ROIs, and the main number is investment score. Summing up together all those, we have number, and we could compare this number with similar or different apartments, whatever you like. It could be expensive, cheap, close to the center, very far, and then you have all information and decision is on you. So let's look how does it work. So in general, there is a home page. You could check what each subpage information have and what does it mean, but we could go straight. Okay, let's say net monthly income 3,000 after taxes. So very realistic and very reachable. Here we add, do we rent? I own it and mortgage is paid off, or I own it and still pay mortgage. So in this case, for example, I add all parameters and I could search for investment option. So later you will see that to build this portfolio, it's very easy. It's quite hard to make fast decision, but later it's easier and easier, and equity grows exponentially. You will see. Okay. Okay, so let's say for later calculations, I show this. I have, is it? Yeah, 200,000. I'm afraid 2 million. That might be too much, but 200,000. I already, let's say I have this investment already. All parameters, and then I calculate what mortgage I could expect, and here what my mortgage monthly payment would be. So if I buy it for myself, I could compare how much I pay for rent. Maybe it's useful to pay the mortgage and to live in that apartment. Or is it good investment or not? Okay, so we go step by step. We do have one apartment. So I just copy link. I add it here. We do have everything here. So it's real data from that listing. I don't need to add anything manually. And yeah, the same thing we could see in this web page. But what is more interesting and more important for us, it's how much we need to have additionally. In Germany, if you want to have apartment, you could ask for mortgage 100%. This one is additional cost what you need to have in the pocket. And this is consist of I won't pronounce those German words. It would sound funny, but sometimes makler also is 0, but very often is 3.55%. So also it's quite a lot. But in this case, I need to have this amount and I am the owner. But that's not everything yet. Deal analysis. Let's go here. Okay. We do have predicted rent for this apartment, and I check in very different ways. It's really realistic for this location, for this apartment, with this condition, and general score is 71%. I try very different apartments, very different options to invest, different loans, different lengths, different interest rate fixation, different amortization. So if it's in yellow range, it works. In green, not often, maybe possible do some rescale from my side. But in general, it's good option. And those numbers comes from deal equity, tax efficiency, and cash flow. And here also we see these numbers which form those conditions. So monthly cash flow, so what we get from the tenant which pay rent and what we pay for mortgage. Break-even point, what's supposed to be the rent that will cover everything. That cover everything means not just mortgage, but also we need to pay for insurance of the building, for example, or house. When house get older, we also need to pay 20% of house geld. Yeah. Payback period, so in 23 years. So this apartment will be fully paid, and this is completely our. In 10 years, 18%. And taxable result, it doesn't mean that we got this amount, but this taxable result means that all expenses will be accumulated together with our salary and other income. So this 2,000 will be beneficial, and we will pay less taxes from all amount. Rent history. So I showed this number before, but how I get that and what's the situation? So let's say take 30 years before and 30 years prediction of the future, and red star is the current apartment. How does it look with this rent? So we see that it's always increasing, it's always go up. So it's just visually what's the situation, what you could expect, and later decision on you. Tax impact. For this one, we need to add our brutto salary to be sure how much taxes we pay. Is it 42%? Is it 30%? And according that, we have very clear visualization what we could expect. Very often people say invest, and then you will gain from taxes. But we don't know what does it mean, how long we will gain some benefit from taxes. And here in this graph and in this table, we see that after 6 years, it's swap. After 6 years, we need to start to pay taxes from this investment, because when we pay the mortgage, interest rate decreasing, and we have less benefit. Of course, our equity still grows. Yeah, deal comparison. So if we have few apartments and we want to compare, so this is the listing of few apartments and investment score, and then we could decide which one we like the most. Also, deal suggestions. So we have this budget from the first page, and close to my budget. So for now, the best works with Berlin, need to work more on further cities. This could take a while, but here you will see suggestion for very similar price. Maybe I choose random apartment, but maybe there is very similar price range, which could generate a higher income. So here we expect to see some options. Maybe my option was best, but maybe I see much better option. Yeah. I want to show interest rate forecast, but I'm afraid that we need to wait again. So for the interest rate, here is accurate now in the banks in Germany, and this is average from few banks. So if I see that this mortgage it's allowed and this interest rate I would pay, so this is very close to true. Of course, it's depends on the person, on the bank, and on the conditions, but it's very, very realistic. And it's renew every few weeks, because bank also didn't renew that often, so that's enough time. Okay, so I see another listing for 182,000 euro, small apartment, predicted rent, payback period, so score is high, and I have another listings. So I could compare where to invest and what to expect. I could go to web page to see what kind of apartment it is. I could load into the deal analysis to see more numbers, for example, for tax impact, and score photos. So if I'm not sure if this rent is accurate, so I analyze the pictures of this apartment, and then I see, for example, if really there is a kitchen, if that kitchen is old or new, if the building is huge one, so it means it's really new build. So I could expect a higher rent, and then in general, the deal would provide higher results. Yeah, so shortly like this, there is a little, not a little, even more things to improve, but the main idea is clear, it's realistic, and I hope you consider it. Yeah, that's it from my side.